Hello everyone. Now we are going to start the next part of our chapter, and which is the motion of objects in fluid. Motion of object in fluid, and it is a part of our chapter called force and pressure. Okay, so let's start. Okay, when an object moves in a fluid. Okay, fluid means what? Anything that can flow. What is fluid? Anything
that can flow.
that can flow. Okay, like water, okay, even air also, okay, that can flow is called as the fluid. That is liquid or gas. It may be liquid or gas. It experiences a force that tends to slow down the object. Okay, suppose you are running in this particular direction. Okay, suppose here we have the athlete and which is running, and if air is coming from this direction, okay, so that air will going to create resistance, is it or not, and that air will slow down the speed. Even in case of water, suppose if water is flowing in this direction and if you are swimming in this direction, so that water is again going to resist against your movement, right? So this is nothing but, yes, so that means it resists or it is going to slow down your speed. Okay, this resistive force is called as drag. Very important. That resistive force which reduces your speed is called as the drag. Means if you are applying the brake in the bicycle or the car or motorcycle, is nothing but the drag only. This resistive force or the drag becomes more noticeable when the object moves faster. Okay, when the drag acts more, when you are moving more faster. Okay, suppose if you are standing normally at one place, so you won't feel air sometime, but if you will run again fast or again fast, so you will feel that drag of air. Suppose you are sitting on the train and if you are like sensing the air from the window, so you will feel air is running, flowing very fast. Okay, it is due to the drag only. Okay, now next. So when you are feeling that drag more when speed is very fast, to reduce the drag, automobile, ship, and the airplane and the shape of the birds also, it is spindle shape. Even that what submarine also, they are given particular shape so that they can reduce the resistance of water, plane for air. Okay, like this, are given a special shape to them. It is spindle shape. Okay, or it is also called as streamlined shape. It is also called as streamlined shape. An automobile with the streamlined body experience lower resistance when traveling through the air. Okay, so if you are providing streamlined shape, so it creates that air or water creates less resistance on the vehicle or any device. Even sea creatures such as fish, shark have streamlined bodies. Okay, even birds also, which makes it easier for them to move with the greater speed in water. Okay, so that shape is very important for the aquatic animal. Yes, despite some object will streamline shaped. Okay. Okay. Now, first we are going to discuss. Everyone, just mute yourself. Okay. Advantages and disadvantages of the friction. Very important. Very important. Huh? Advantages and disadvantages of the friction. Wait, someone is in waiting room. Okay. Now, first we are going to discuss about the advantages of the friction. It is because of the friction we can walk on the road. Okay, it is due to the friction only. We can drive, open doors, run taps, okay, and write also. Whatever the activities we can perform, it is due to the friction only. Screw and the nails does not slip off because of the friction between the wood and the metal surface of the screw. Okay, suppose if here we have the wooden surface And if you want to like pin any iron nails, okay, so it is over here, it does not slip, it is due to the friction between the nails and the wood. The knot remains in shape because of the friction of the rope with which you tie it. Okay, sometime what you are doing generally, you used to tie the rope. Okay, you used to tie two rope over here, so they does not like open up because due to the friction only. So friction have many benefits in our day-to-day life. Bed sheets remain on the bed because of the friction. Okay, if you are like using the bed sheet over the bed, so it is not like moving from there during the sleeping. Also, it is due to the friction force working between bed sheet and the bed. You can sit on the chair without sliding off because of the friction only. So all these are the advantages that we experience in our daily life. Now we are going to discuss about the disadvantages of friction. Friction causes the moving parts in machinery, okay, and automobiles to heap up. So generally what happens due to continuous running of the parts of the machine, due to friction, they heaps up. They reduces in their size. Okay.
Yeah, sir, you have done a lot
Now,
of.
yes, yes. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the disadvantages. See, friction causes the moving parts of machinery and automobiles to heat up. Okay, during friction, parts of the machine they heat up, and most of the energy is converted into heat energy. So this is loss of fuel and energy if there is more friction. So this is one of the disadvantages of friction. Friction also causes wear and tear of the moving parts. Most of the time, if there is more friction, so they used to wear and tear. Okay, that's why friction is disadvantages. So whatever the point we are discussing here is for the disadvantages only. Depending on our requirement, we may need to reduce or increase the friction between the surface they are in contact. So now we are going to discuss about the method of reduction of friction, how we can reduce the friction. So wear and tear is due to the friction depends on the two surfaces they are in contact with each other. Okay, so like what are the main cause? It is nothing but the roughness and the nature of the two surface. Okay, if they are rough or smooth, so it is nature, and the roughness of the subject like object is more, so there will be more friction. If it is smooth, so it will be less friction. Yeah, and the amount of time. Okay, and the second factor is the amount of time. If more like two objects they are in contact with each other, they are running continuously for the long time, so friction will be more and it will heat up a lot, and that heat up causes the wearing and tearing of object also along with the friction. So wear and tear of an object is not desirable as it is reduce the life of the object. Okay, so that friction reduces the life of the object of the machine. Hence, we had to reduce the friction as much as possible. So this is the more. So in case of the moving parts of automobile machineries, okay. So that's why we had to reduce the friction so that life of this object becomes more. Therefore, efforts are made to reduce the friction between the moving part. That's why we had to like put more effort in order to reduce the friction. And what is the effort basically? We had to apply the lubricant between that sliding surface. Okay. So friction between the moving part is usually reduced by introducing the substance, okay, to the moving surface, between the moving surface. And what are the substance called? They are called as lubricant. That's why we used to change gear oil and engine oil time to time of our bike or car. The substance introduced is called as lubricant. Okay, those substance they are called as lubricants. So common lubricants generally we are using oil and grease. Oil and grease are the common lubricant that we use in our vehicles and all. Okay. Now, what are again different tools by which we can reduce the friction? By using the ball bearing. Why it is called as ball bearing? Because in its structure, you can see here we have like many balls. They are arranged, okay, over here. So here we have sliding friction as well as rolling friction because these balls are going to roll and going to slide on both the surface. Okay, so here that bearing produces the friction which are sliding as well as rolling one. So ball bearing are the element used in machinery and various appliances to reduce the friction of moving parts of the machine. The structure of the ball bearing that we discuss now, okay, it the ball bearing changes the sliding friction to rolling friction. If there is sliding friction, so sliding friction will be causes more like the heat of the object. So if due to that bearing balls, they changes sliding friction to rolling friction, and due to which rolling friction causes less heats of the object and life of the object increases. This is very useful as a rolling friction is much smaller than the sliding friction. Okay,
Where
so
the bearing?
yes, where we can use this bearing, where sliding friction is more and rolling friction is less, where we can use the bearing to reduce the sliding friction and to increase the rolling friction. Bearing are used in most of the machineries and structure which are moving part. Okay, if parts are moving or sliding one over each other, so where we can use the bearings. A small metal ball made of the stainless steel, brass or ceramic, etc. can use there are placed between moving object or moving surface, okay, to reduce the friction, because that moving or sliding friction can convert into rolling friction by the ball bearing. Okay. Now we are going to understand the method of increasing the friction. Very important. Increasing the friction. See, there are two methods of increasing the friction. One is by making the surface rough, and other is by increasing the mass of the object. Okay, if we will increase the more mass, so more will be the friction, or if we can make the surface more rough, more will be the friction. For example, the tire of the vehicle have treads there. What are treads? These are nothing but the design which makes the surface very rough and which causes the friction, which increases the friction between the tire and the road, and it reduces the chances of accident. Similarly, the sole of the shoes also have grooves or spikes in them in order to increase the friction so that you won't slip down on the surface. Gymnasts often apply a coarse material in their hands, okay, to get better grip or to increase the friction. So these are the ways by which we can increase the friction between two surfaces they are in contact with each other. So here it is all about the friction, like how we can reduce or how we can increase the friction between two surfaces. Okay, so in black colored strip here, you can see here we have the balls. Okay, and here we have one surface, and that center one is the another surface. So they slides over each other. Okay, the sliding force is converted into friction force by the ball present inside both the or between both the surfaces. Okay, everyone. So this is the bearing which is in end of the Shiva Pranano.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Okay.